What does it take to disappear completely? To erase your past, rewrite your identity, and step into a world where your very existence is forbidden. This isn't a spy thriller. This is 1866 America, just after the Civil War. The U.S. Army is forming all-black cavalry and infantry units. Legendary Buffalo Soldiers, they'll become famous for their courage, discipline, and service in the American West. But in their storied ranks hides a secret so profound it remained buried for decades. Among hundreds of men was one woman. Her name was Cathay Williams. Enslaved from birth, freed by war, and determined to claim her own destiny even if it meant becoming a man. This is the true story of Private William Cathay, the only documented female Buffalo Soldier in United States history. Born into slavery in Missouri around 1844, Cathay's early life was one of brutal hardship. When the Civil War broke out, she was captured by Union forces and pressed into service as a cook and laundress. For years, she followed the army, witnessing the horrors of war firsthand, but also getting a glimpse of a different kind of life, one where African Americans, though still facing immense prejudice, could serve and earn a wage. When the war ended, she found herself in a precarious position. The world was changing, but for a single, illiterate, black woman, opportunities were almost non-existent. She needed independence. She needed a way to survive on her own terms. The army offered a steady paycheck, healthcare, and a pension. There was just one problem. It was only for men. So, Cathay made a radical decision. She walked into a recruitment office in St. Louis, Missouri, in November 1866. She cut her hair short, bound her chest, and likely lowered her voice. She enlisted under the name William Cathay, claiming to be a 22-year-old cook. Cursory medical exam, likely performed by a doctor overwhelmed with recruits, failed to uncover her secret. She was assigned to Company A, becoming part of the first wave of Buffalo Soldiers. The term Buffalo Soldier was a nickname given by Native American tribes who saw a resemblance between the soldiers' dark, curly hair and the fur of a buffalo. It was a name worn with pride, a symbol of strength and resilience. But for William Cathay, it meant carrying a burden no other soldier had. Life in the army was grueling. The soldiers faced harsh conditions, inadequate supplies, and relentless discrimination. They were stationed in the unforgiving landscapes of the American West. From New Mexico to Kansas, they built forts, escorted wagon trains, and patrolled vast territories, often engaging in conflicts with Native American tribes. For Cathay, every day was a tightrope walk. She had to perform the same strenuous duties as the men along marches, drills, combat readiness, all while hiding her true identity. Imagine the constant fear of discovery. Sharing a tent, using the latrines, bathing. Every simple act was a risk. A single moment of carelessness could expose her. We know from records that she was hospitalized several times, once with smallpox. How did she maintain her disguise, even under medical scrutiny? It's a testament to her incredible resolve, and perhaps the inattentiveness of the army doctors of the era. She must have lived in a state of perpetual anxiety. Her military career, however, was short-lived. The physical strain of army life, combined with the lingering effects of smallpox, took a toll on her health. After about 2 years of service, her secret was finally discovered. In October 1868, a post surgeon in New Mexico examined Private William Cathay and officially revealed she was a woman. She was immediately given a disability discharge. The official army documents state the reason for discharge was feeble health and that she was unfit for duty. There is no official mention of her being a woman on the discharge papers. It was as if the army, embarrassed by the oversight, preferred to sweep the entire affair under the rug. Her time as a soldier was over, but her fight for recognition was just beginning. After her discharge, Cathay Williams resumed her female identity. She moved to Pueblo, Colorado, working as a cook and laundress. Later, she moved to Trinidad, Colorado, where she ran a boarding house. Her life was not easy. She was still a poor, black woman in a society that offered her few paths to prosperity. But she was a survivor. In 1891, years after her service, a reporter from the St. Louis Daily Times found her and published her incredible story. It was the first time the public learned about the woman who had served as a Buffalo Soldier. In the interview, she explained her motive simply. I wanted to make my own living and not be dependent on relations or friends. It was a powerful declaration of independence. Inspired by this newfound attention, Cathay applied for a military disability pension, citing the hearing loss and health problems she had sustained during her service. Her application included sworn testimony from former comrades who confirmed her enlistment and service as William Cathay. They knew her secret. They had served alongside her. Yet, in a final, heartbreaking injustice, her claim was rejected. A government doctor examined her and, while noting her health issues, concluded that there was no disability and that her fraudulent enlistment barred her from receiving a pension. The system she had served, the very institution she had risked everything to join, turned its back on her. The exact date and location of her death are unknown, but it's believed she died sometime between 1892 and 1900, likely buried in an unmarked pauper's grave in Trinidad. For nearly a century, her story was largely forgotten, a footnote in the vast history of the American West. But historians and researchers eventually rediscovered her, piecing together the fragments of her life from military records, census data, and that one crucial newspaper article. Today, Cathay Williams is recognized as a pioneer. A statue in her honor stands in Leavenworth, Kansas, celebrating her courage and determination. Her story challenges our understanding of gender, identity, and bravery. She defied every limitation placed upon her by society as a woman, as an African American, and as a former slave. She wasn't just hiding. She was actively claiming a space for herself in a world that said she didn't belong. Her 2 years as Private William Cathay were a brief but powerful act of rebellion and self-determination. She proved that courage has no gender. The story of Cathay Williams is a reminder that history is full of hidden figures, people whose stories were erased or ignored because they didn't fit the conventional narrative. She was an ordinary woman who did an extraordinary thing, driven by a simple desire for independence. Her legacy is not just in being the only female Buffalo soldier, but in her unyielding spirit to forge her own path against all odds. In the bustling streets of 1866 St. Louis, a young woman named Cathay Williams walked with a purpose that set her apart. Born into the brutal reality of slavery on a Missouri plantation, the war had turned her into what the Union Army called contraband. Not quite free, but no longer enslaved, forced to work as a cook and laundress for the very soldiers fighting for the nation's soul. During those years, she saw firsthand the power and the structure of the military. She saw the discipline, the camaraderie, and the pay. Now, with the war officially over, her options as a black woman were grimly familiar. A life of domestic service, washing clothes for others, a different kind of servitude for pennies a day. True independence felt like a distant dream. But then she saw them, a group of black soldiers, marching in crisp blue uniforms. They were members of the newly formed 38th U.S. Infantry Regiment, one of the first all-black units in the peacetime army. Their heads were held high. Their stride was confident, and they earned $13 a month, a steady living wage that promised a life of self, a chance to serve a country that had only just begun to acknowledge their existence as human beings. It was a path to dignity, a path to a real future. There was just one seemingly insurmountable obstacle. The United States Army did not, under any circumstances, enlist women. She chose possibility. In a quiet, determined act of transformation, Cathay Williams began to erase herself. She sheared off her hair, practiced lowering the pitch of her voice, and bound her chest tightly. She adopted a masculine walk, a swagger she'd observed in the soldiers she served. She was preparing for the performance of a lifetime. She decided that if Cathay Williams couldn't join the army, then a man named William Cathay would. She drew on everything she had learned during her years as a camp follower. She knew the Army's routines, its jargon, its rhythms. She knew how soldiers talked, how they stood, and what was expected of them. On November 15th, 1866, armed with this knowledge and an iron will, William Cathay strode into the Army recruitment office in St. Louis. The recruiting surgeon, likely overworked and accustomed to a flood of new enlists, gave her a brief, cursory examination. In an era before modern medical checks, physicals were often superficial. He looked for obvious defects, checked her height and general fitness, and saw nothing out of the ordinary. He didn't see a woman in disguise. he saw another able-bodied recruit ready for duty. With a stamp of his papers, he declared, "You're fit for duty." Sign, Ere, Cathay, being illiterate, like so many former slaves denied an education, couldn't write her new name. She simply marked an X on the enlistment papers. An officer administered the oath of enlistment, and with her spoken pledge, the transformation was complete. Private William Cathay, regimental number 4014 of the 38th U.S. Infantry, was officially born. She had passed the first test. But her real trial, an ordeal of endurance and secrecy, was only just beginning. As Private Cathay, she was sent west to join her regiment, marching into the harsh, unforgiving landscapes of the American frontier. For the next 2 years, she would live a life of constant vigilance. She marched for hundreds of miles under the blistering sun of New Mexico and across the windswept plains of Colorado. She dug fortifications, stood guard duty in freezing nights, and participated in grueling drills, performing every duty expected of a soldier. She endured the same coarse food, the same harsh discipline, and the same cramped, shared barracks as the men she called her comrades. Every moment was a calculated risk. Every day was a tightrope walk over a chasm of discovery. Imagine the constant, gnawing tension in the barracks as men around her changed clothes or spoke freely. She had to find ways to maintain her privacy without raising suspicion. A shared bath in a river, a moment of sickness, a careless gesture, any of these could betray her. She had to manage her monthly cycle in secret, in a world with no modern hygiene products, surrounded entirely by men. The physical strain was immense, but the psychological burden was even heavier. There were close calls. On at least 5 separate occasions, Private Cathay was hospitalized for various illnesses, including a bout of smallpox. Each time, she somehow managed to conceal her identity from army doctors, a feat that speaks volumes about her incredible resolve and perhaps the rudimentary nature of military medicine at the time. Her fellow soldiers simply saw her as a somewhat quiet, perhaps slightly built comrade who, despite frequent bouts of sickness, always got back on his feet and did his duty. They nicknamed her the Mule for her toughness. But the strain was taking its toll. The constant marching, the poor nutrition, and the relentless physical labor exacerbated her health problems. Her body, pushed beyond its limits, was beginning to fail her. She was repeatedly in and out of military hospitals, her secret growing heavier with each visit. The double life was becoming unsustainable. The final chapter of a military career began not with a battle or a heroic charge, but with a diagnosis from a post-surgeon who was more thorough than the others. During yet another hospital stay in New Mexico, the post-surgeon finally discovered the truth that Cathay had guarded so fiercely for 2 long years. Her secret was out. The reaction was swift. On October 14, 1868, Private William Cathay was officially discharged from the United States Army on a surgeon's certificate of disability. Her discharge papers noted the discovery, stating she was found to be a woman. There was no court-martial, no prison sentence. For the Army, it was simply an administrative problem to be corrected. Her incredible, trailblazing military career ended not with a bang, but with a pen stroke. After her discharge, Cathay Williams, no longer William Cathay, tried to build a new life. She moved to Pueblo, Colorado, and later to Trinidad, working as a cook and a seamstress. She was open about her military service, and her story became something of a local legend. She was known in town as the woman who had served as a buffalo soldier. In 1876, a journalist from St. Louis tracked her down and published her story, bringing her a brief moment of national attention. In her later years, her health, broken by her arduous time in the Army, continued to decline. Suffering from diabetes and other ailments, she applied for a military pension and disability benefits, citing the illnesses and injuries she sustained while in service. Her application included sworn testimony from former comrades who verified her service and her valor. They remembered Private Cathay as a good soldier. However, the Pension Bureau rejected her claim. The official reason was that her disabilities pre-existed her enlistment. But the unspoken truth was that the government refused to legitimize the service of a woman who had broken its rules to serve. Cathay Williams died sometime in the early 1890s, her final resting place unknown. She was denied recognition, denied a pension, and largely forgotten by the country she had served. For over a century, her story remained a footnote in history. But today, we remember her. We honor her not just for breaking barriers, but for her sheer, audacious courage. Cathay Williams wanted independence. She wanted dignity, and she was willing to create an entirely new identity to achieve it. She proved that a woman could be as tough and as capable as any soldier. She marched across the brutal, unforgiving landscapes of the American West, from Kansas to New Mexico. Think about the daily reality. Living in close quarters with hundreds of men, sharing barracks, enduring harsh conditions, and facing the constant threat of discovery. How did she do it? The constant vigilance, the clever excuses, the sheer force of will required is almost unimaginable. She witnessed the frontier, not as a wife or a laundress, but as a soldier, a peer among men. This was a life of autonomy and purpose, a life she chose and fought to maintain every single day. But the demanding life of a soldier took its toll. After years of marching and labor, Cathay's health began to fail. It wasn't a battle wound or a suspicious commanding officer that finally revealed her secret, but her own body. She was hospitalized, likely suffering from the effects of smallpox, fatigue, and neuralgia. It was Terry under the care of an army surgeon that the truth was finally discovered. William Cathay was a woman. The discovery must have sent shockwaves through the post. But here's a crucial point. She wasn't dishonorably discharged for her deception. The official record states he was discharged on a surgeon's certificate of disability. Her 2 years of service were real, and they were recognized. After leaving the army, Cathay didn't just fade into obscurity. She settled in Trinidad, Colorado, working as a cook and a laundress. But she was a veteran, and she believed she was owed what other veterans were: a pension for her service and her disabilities. So say fugue. She filed a pension claim, detailing her service, her enlistment, and the ailments that plagued her. Her application was ultimately rejected, a heartbreaking denial of her sacrifice. The government doctor who examined her concluded that her disabilities pre-existed her enlistment, and no pension was granted. Despite this final injustice, Cathay's story survived. She had told her story to a journalist, ensuring that her life as William Cathay would not be forgotten. She died sometime after 1893, and her final resting place is unknown. But her legacy is powerful and clear. Cathay Williams was not just a woman in disguise. She was a pioneer who refused to be defined by the narrow roles available to a black woman in post-Civil War America. She was an enslaved person who seized her own freedom, a soldier who served her country, and a veteran who fought for her rights. Her secret was a tool, a means to an end. It allowed her to access a world of freedom, travel, and self-determination that was otherwise completely closed off. Her story challenges our ideas about gender, identity, and courage. It's a testament to the incredible resilience of a woman who carved her own path, using ingenuity and sheer will to claim a life of her own making. Cathay Williams is a true American hero, and her story of defiance and survival deserves to be remembered. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, please like this video and subscribe for more hidden histories.